A lot of news has come out this weekend, especially in the NBA when we talk about guys like Jimmy Butler getting traded to the 76ers. But after that, I thought that the biggest news this weekend wasn't the trade. It was, in fact, some rumors coming out of Houston that Carmelo's days might be numbered there. And, of course, this is coming from Tim McMahon, from Adrian Wojnarowski, Sham from The Athletic. A lot of places are reporting that Carmelo's days might be numbered in Houston. And, Peter, there are three questions I want to ask and kind of debate real quick. One of them is, whose fault really is it in Houston and why they're struggling so bad? The second one is, if Carmelo does get traded or gets waived, I should say, because this video is coming out before any of that news and information comes out, what's the best fit for him? And three, is Chris Paul to blame for everything that's happening in Houston right now?
Okay, so that the third one is going to play off of the answer for the first one.
Yeah, so let's start off with the first one.
First question.
Whose fault is it?
Whose fault is it? So I'm gonna. This might be a cop-out to this question, but I'm gonna say it's not necessarily that anybody's at fault, because I definitely, and I think you probably agree with this, I think that the blame on Carmelo is not very fair.
No, I think it's outrageous.
I think, anybody expecting him to have come in and carried the team to as many wins, whatever the case may be, it's just crazy, right? Because if anybody watched him at OKC last year, they shouldn't have been expecting very much from him at this point in his career. And the fact that Houston signed him and was starting him to begin the season was more of an indictment against the coaching staff of Houston than it is against Carmelo. It's not his fault that he's starting. It's more they just should have realized that he's not starting caliber player on a championship contending team at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing I said in my Rockets prediction of the Western Conference. I had them at a 5th seed or 4th seed just because I knew what Carmelo is now in his career. He's not the same guy that he was in Denver and not the early years in New York. He's this different player, not shooting the three ball particularly well. He's just a mid-range guy, and even that he's struggling with. I think right now his focus and priority isn't basketball. I really think, in my opinion, I think it's more of his family and his son is he's more important and what he's looking at most.
So if I had to answer the question, I guess my answer would be management for the team.
Management,
and
okay.
I actually really like Daryl Morey. I think he's one of probably the 4 or 5 best managers in the league, and really he's made a lot of great choices throughout his tenure in Houston. But I think he just miscalculated. He's like the biggest numbers guy in the NBA right now, and I think that this season chalks up to just he did his math wrong, because they built the team wrong. They lost one of their most important players, in my opinion, Trevor Ariza, and replaced him with a really inefficient guy who can't play defense. So not only did you lose a highly effective three-point shooter in Trevor Ariza, but then you replaced him with a guy who's probably a D- defender, maybe even F defender in Carmelo, when Trevor Ariza is probably an A to A+ defender in the league.
Yeah, I mean, there's, of course, a lot of blame to be had, and, of course, the third question is going to play into this, and who I think really is to blame. I think I'm going to have to put some of the blame on Chris Paul, obviously, which I said in my question. A little bit on James Harden.
Yeah.
Clint Capella as well, because he's not playing up to the contract that he just signed recently. And then, of course, Daryl Morey and D'Antoni. But I just want to go to the Chris Paul thing. The reason why I said this is because I really respect the analysis and opinions of Chris Broussard. Yeah. And he talked about this on The Herd, and he said that, Chris Paul's abrasive style, his hard-headedness when he talks to teammates. I mean, we saw that video of James Harden and Chris Paul going at it. And I don't know whether it was James Harden or Chris Paul kind of slapping the hand down.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, especially when you have that attitude, but you don't have the championships to prove it, that to me kind of shows that there might be a little bit of a disconnect with everybody's teammates. Because I know Chris Paul's not playing particularly well right now.
Yeah.
James Harden is not the MVP that we thought he was. It's just completely an utter chaoticness in Houston. I just don't like the way that they gel right now. They could be the worst team. I mean, obviously not the worst team in the NBA, but in terms of that top echelon teams.
Yeah. The one other thing I would really say about this team is just compared to last year, they're so inconsistent. Like last year, it could just be chalked up to the whole season they were hot. You know? But this year, it just feels like one game, it feels like they're back to last year, and then the next game they score 87 points.
Yeah.
It's just, as a team, they're really inconsistent. And I think when a lot of the teams that they're competing with, as far as this style of 3-point shooting basketball that they play, improved this offseason, like we already said, they did not improve. If anything, they got a little worse.
Yeah.
And they went out and paid Clint Capella, but other than that, they brought nobody new in other than Carmelo, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And Marquise Chris is like, that's one of the guys they ended up with. Brandon Knight, just a bunch of guys that aren't very good. You know, they're really shallow as far as their bench is concerned too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of frustrating because I talked about this a lot. I thought last year was a 1-year window. It was a very short window for this team to get over the Golden State Warriors hump, and they almost had it. But obviously some circumstances happened and they missed 27 threes. I mean, to me, this Houston Rockets team is in a spiral towards the bottom. I mean, D'Antoni's probably going to lose his job, I'm assuming, if he does not step it up.
Yeah, right the ship, so to say.
It's just frustrating to watch because I know what type of player James Harden is, and he's not proving it right now.
Yeah. And
then I know what type of leader Chris Paul is, but I just think that there's a reason why a lot of his teammates have come out against him. Guys like DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, they don't really have his back. Big Baby Davis, even though, he's a character, he's still, he was a solid NBA player for that Boston Celtics team that won a championship.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot of stuff where I'm just like, Chris Paul, you're going to have to change your style and you're going to have to take some of the blame, because I think that's another thing that Chris Paul doesn't really do well is say, you know what, guys, it's on me as well. It's my fault. Instead, he points fingers. And I think that's the reason why, in my opinion, the third question is, why is it Chris Paul's fault? Because he just doesn't accept blame and then blames everybody else. And it's just a bad look for the Houston Rockets team.
Definitely. So you want to move on to the second question? Where should Carmelo go? Is that what we're going
to
You want to answer first, or do you want me to go first?
I just think Carmelo Anthony right now in his career, he's obviously not basketball focused as much as he should be. I think one option for him, maybe just to go to the Cavs. It's a dysfunctional organization. You add another player that's not really focused on basketball. You bring in the star name, as you said. Why not get Zion after? Yeah,
I mean, that's really the ultimate tanking addition to a bad team, is to add Carmelo. So I'm gonna put it this way: as far as Carmelo is concerned, it's gonna be a tale of two Carmelos. Whether or not he still thinks he's a starting caliber player is going to determine where I think he should go. Because if he thinks he should still be starting and he wants to start, Cleveland is probably a pretty good fit.
Right.
But let's say Carmelo is now at this point, he's been to two different teams after his New York Knicks tenure and seen how poorly it's gone. Maybe Carmelo says, you know what, I'll be like the 8th or 9th guy off the bench, play 15 minutes a game, like Vince Carter kind of style basketball.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I have two teams that I could see him going. A lot of people aren't going to like these two, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. The first one is the Lakers. That is mostly just because I think it would be fun to watch him play there with LeBron. Like, not really a good fit. Don't sign. Like, the Lakers should not do this, but I think it would be very interesting, and then it just adds to this kind of menagerie of strange players that the Lakers have accumulated. That would be fun to watch. But I think my favorite pick, and this might be a bit of a self-sustaining pick, would be the Knicks. In my reasoning, I think I have valid reasons for this, okay? I think his tenure with the Knicks, he really should, at the end of the day, call the New York Knicks his team, his home team. That's where, at the end of the day, his Hall of Fame career was built in New York for the most part.
Right.
The prime years. But he ended it off on such a bad note with Phil Jackson. Now Phil Jackson's gone. All the old people, other than James Dolan, are gone. But him and Kristaps have a lot of love for each other. They actually got along very well when he played for New York. But this would be totally with the knowledge if he is accepting of like playing second fiddle to the young guys and being a mentor, right? And if he's not willing to do that, obviously it's not a good fit. But I really think Carmelo is my favorite basketball player of all time. I would hope at this point in his career that he would understand that he's not that guy anymore. And if he does, then he can be the Vince Carter style player, which is like this journeyman kind of mentor to younger guys who can give you 5 to 10, maybe 15 good minutes off the bench.
The problem with that, though, is I just don't see Carmelo as that. I still think in his mind, he thinks that he's still one of the better players out there in the league. And although his numbers and his body doesn't indicate that, that's how he feels. And I just don't think he's going to take anything less than either a 6-man role or starting role. I just think that that's where his mindset is. That's where he feels that, you know, I've done this for so many years. I deserve a starting role in a team. I just think it kind of just reminds me of what happened to AI.
Yeah.
A little bit. Just kind of, he had a great journey, you know, Philadelphia was doing great, and then, you know, he took less minutes, and then he got traded to Denver. In Denver, he was mentoring Carmelo Anthony, and I just feel like that's kind of the same way, and it's going to get to a point where I don't want to see Carmelo Anthony in China or anywhere in Europe playing basketball. I think he is an NBA caliber player, but I don't want him out of there just because teams are like, well, we don't want to take a risk on you because we saw what you did in Houston, we saw what you did in Oklahoma City,
and the last year of New York for that matter.
Yeah.
Too. I just think, like, as the biggest Carmelo fan that I know, I think the best thing for his legacy as an NBA player would be to return to New York and end his career on a good foot, where a lot of his best years were. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, if he could come to some sort of agreement with the New York Knicks organization to be kind of this player who is just there to help the young guys and kind of regain his stature as a New York icon, right? I think that would be the best look for him, because he's never going to regain it as a good player at this point in his career. So the best thing for him to be, like, would just be that guy who you see at the games who's helping young guys. I don't think he's going to do it realistically. He just doesn't seem like that guy. But that, I mean, if I could pick anything to see my favorite player do, that would be it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be a huge deal with Carmelo Anthony. But we didn't want to know your guys' opinion in the comments down below. What do you guys think of this whole Carmelo Anthony Houston Rockets thing? Are they going to release him? Are they not going to? And if he is released, what team do you think should sign him? And also, what do you guys think about the Chris Paul comments that I made earlier? Do you guys agree or disagree? I'd love to know your opinions. But anyway, guys, this has been your boy Bernie here along with Pete.
We love you. Tell us what you think about Carmelo too. I just need to know. This is so sad to me.
Yeah, exactly. But here on The Charge, of course, we're giving you NBA news and rumors. And also remember to hit that like button. Also hit that subscribe button as we're trying to get to 1K. And anyway, guys, we'll see you in the next video. Peace.